This is just a quick video to help you go through reworking the test if you're trying to rework it because you weren't satisfied with your grade. And I'm just going to try to give you some pointers down through each section. The first section, just use chapter 5. Remember, in chapter 5 we only did sections 5.1, sections 5.1, 5.2, and 5.4. So use those main sections in your book. It's chapter 5, and just look up these terms. See, and again, put true or false out here in the blank, and if it's false, put in the correct word from this box up here, from the vocab box at the top here. Second section, deals with the triangle inequality theorem. So if you look up the triangle inequality theorem, that'll help you. The triangle inequality theorem is the one that said any two sides of a triangle must add up to be more than the third side, not equal to. Any two sides have to add up to be more than the third side. And when you're answering these, just put yes or no. The third section, remember to split off the two triangles, if that helps you, so that when you're comparing sides in this triangle, you only look at the angles in that triangle. So like in the triangle on the left, LP has to be the longest side because it's across from the biggest angle. And then use that, and remember, in the blanks, you're just going to, the easiest way to do it is just to write the longest segment. Just write the longest segment in each blank. And on all these, you can try to print off the test if you wanted to try to do that. But otherwise, when you hand this back in, you'll just have the numbers 1 through 29 or whatever it is, and then the answers, or the work and the answers on that part. Don't just put, on some of these problems where you actually have to work it out, don't just put your answer down. Make sure you show me all your work, otherwise you won't get any credit. The second page starts with problem 20. Key idea here, remember that you have medians. All three of those are medians. Look up what a median tells you. So you'll know something about each of these segments. Then you can set up your equation for problem 20 from that information. And on problem 20, they're just asking you for A. So all you're going to put is your equation. On your paper, you're going to have your equation down, your workout, and what A equals. Problem 21 deals with this segment, going down through the middle of the triangle here. Well, if that's a median, you know something special about point P right there. And if point P is that special point, you know something about how this segment, DP, is related to segment CP. So on this one, you're using the centroid theorem. Using the centroid theorem. 22. You're also using the centroid theorem. You're dealing with AP and EP. Got to know how those two segments are related to each other, given that all of these are medians. Couldn't see that. So you're dealing with AP and EP in problem 22. You're still using the same diagram. On problem 23, you're going to need to use the fact that if we go back up to the diagram up here, need to use the fact that BD, something's true about segment BD and segment DA. And that's going to allow you to find X. Once you find X, then you can use this to decide what you know about these two angles right here. So what you know about those two angles. Then once you figure out what you know about those two angles, that'll let you decide if CD is not only a median, but if it's also an altitude. Problem 24, you're again going to use the centroid theorem. Be careful when you're setting up. X isn't too bad, Y is not too bad, but when you use the Z, you have to be careful. You got to know what it tells you if segment BD here is a median. What's that tell us? And then use that to set up your equation and solve for X. Problem 26 and 27. 26 says find RS, so you're finding this whole length on the bottom of this triangle here. And they tell us that RX from R to X and S to X, they tell us those two expressions. And up here they told us that PX is a median. So that's what you're going to use for 26. You got to know what that being a median tells you. And then use that, set up an equation, and remember that you want to go back. You're not just finding X this time. You're actually trying to find segment RS. 27, you're going to use what they told you up here that this is an altitude. The segment that comes down through here is an altitude, and that tells you something about this angle. Figure out what that tells you about the angle, then find x. Once you find x, then you can go back and find the length of segment RT by plugging in for x. Problem 28. That word right there, in center, is the key to the whole thing. This is, if you know what that word tells you, and you look right here at what angle RGM is, that's this angle, you should be able to figure out the measure of angle YGE. The key to 29, circumcenter. If point E is a circumcenter, then that tells you that all of these segments are special kind of segments. You got to figure out what kind of segments they are. And once you know what special kind of segments they are, you could try to use these two together. The problem is one of them has a Y, one of them has an X, so you can't solve the equation that you set up with those two. But it also tells you something special about this angle right here. Angle MTG. Something special about that angle. So you use that to find the value of x. On the bonus, and we're going to start doing more problems like two of these bonus, the first one and the last one. On this, what you're going to have to do, maybe draw you a picture of a triangle, label everything, fill in the angles, see what equation you can set up if YW bisects that angle. So YW bisects an angle like that, set up your equation, and it's going to have an x squared in it. Well, what you're going to have to do is get everything on one side, 0 on the other side, and then factor. Set up your two parentheses, factor equal to 0, then solve for x. And that's the same thing on the third one. Factoring, should remember back to algebra, being able to factor. Factor, remember you're going to have something that looks maybe like this, then a plus or a minus, depends on what you're factoring. This one, draw a triangle, label everything with all the information that they give you, and there's going to be an equation you can set up. You'll be able to find x. Once you know what x is, then you can plug back in to all these parts to find the perimeter. Hopefully this will help you. Good luck.